Dave Williams presents Conversations.buzz.
Together again. My tears have stopped falling.
Hi, my friend.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing just fine.
I miss you.
Well, thank you. I miss seeing you too. Although I don't miss seeing you at 4 a.m. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just that time.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what time I got up this morning?
No.
7:30.
Whoa. That's too late for me. Listen, I've been doing morning radio I figured it out. It's like 44 years, minus the two 9-month breaks I got for unemployment. But
right.
I've been getting up in the middle of the night forever. So to me, sleeping in is like 5:30. But Carol Ann won't have it because the dogs start making noise if I get up. So I stay until 6:30. And then
a lot of times I'll get up at like 3 or 4 and I'll be up for a little bit and then I'll kind of go back to sleep.
You know, I do that too because I go to sleep so early in the evening. Still, I don't
Really?
not at 8 o'clock like I used to, but when we were working, but somewhere between 9 and 10, start to nod off a little bit. Hey, I'm old.
Sometimes I'm binge watching Netflix till like 11 or 12.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Amy and I worked together at KLIF in Dallas for about 11 and a half years, be coming up on 12 in March. And you resigned, what, in September?
Well, I retired. Yeah,
well, from radio, but you've got
from
more
radio
work.
back in September.
Yeah.
After 20 years in Dallas on both WEAP and KLIF.
Right.
And 35 in radio total. So some nice round numbers for me. So that was good.
35 years.
35 years.
You don't look tired. Well, you never looked tired, I would say. Although, in radio, we have the grand opportunity to drag ourselves in at 4 o'clock in the morning looking like crap. And whoever we're working with doesn't care, and it doesn't matter. I used to tell people,
I do my makeup a lot more now. I actually, have to look human every single day now. So I actually get up and I always showered, but I to be 100% real, I didn't always put on makeup, and sometimes I just rolled in what I wore the day before.
Sure, that's pretty much what I always did. But then I would get cleaned up when I went home.
Right.
Because I try to look a little bit better for Carol Ann when she came home from work. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about your career and talk about radio in general. And it was a few years ago for a brief time we did a podcast for the radio station. It's called Brain Crumbs, right?
Yes.
With Dave and Amy. And as I recall, we started off by interviewing each other. So I would like to kind of interview you and have you go back over some of that same ground, if you don't mind, such as the wonderful story about how you got interested in being a reporter when you were just a kid.
Yeah. I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, or even to do just in general as a hobby, because I've never had a lot of hobbies, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
And I guess I was in middle school and I was laying on the couch, and it was at the time when Cablevision was just coming of age, and they were having digital access channels available for people to come down and actually do their own local productions. And so I lived in Canton, Massachusetts, and it was Canton Cable 8. And I was flipping through the cable channels and I saw an ad saying they were looking for volunteers to come down and help out with the productions. Well, I sat up from the couch so fast and I told my mom I wanted to do that. So she got me in the car. She was so excited that I wanted to do something, and took me down there. And that was really the start of my love affair with broadcasting. And I did everything behind the scenes. From computer graphics to camera work. And then I started doing things in front of the camera, most notably a man on the street interview in front of the post office for our weekly show called Main Street. And I would ask people about Nicaragua and all these crazy topics.
And you were a young teenager.
And I was in middle school. My mother's like, where is this coming from? And that's kind of how I got bit by the broadcasting bug. And as you know, once you get bit by the broadcasting bug, it's hard to get unbit by the broadcasting bug. And so
Yeah.
that was my career for the next 35 years.
Yeah. You went to Syracuse University, notably one of the greatest schools in the world for broadcasting and journalism. How did that come about?
Well, I knew I thought I wanted to be behind the scenes, honestly. I thought I wanted to do TV, radio, film management.
Mhm.
So I applied to all the good broadcast schools from Syracuse and Ithaca and Boston University, Northwestern, I forget, GW, I think, American. But I applied early to Syracuse because the moment I walked on the campus, literally my parents drove up to Newhouse. I got out of the car and I said, I can see myself going here. I hadn't even seen anything on campus. It was just a feeling that I got.
Really?
Um, so I applied early, I got in, and the rest is sort of history. And I'm sorry about my dinging that keeps happening.
I can't hear a thing.
Oh, you can't hear it?
I
Okay.
just hear you talking, that's all.
Well, that's good. I guess it must be dinging in my
But you just
head.
reminded me to shut my sound off on my phone, so go ahead. Talking
And
about
so,
Newhouse.
and so the rest is really history. I started to go there and I started working at the campus radio station, which was a professional and is still a professional radio station. It was a jazz station at the time, and I think it still is. It was an NPR affiliate. And so I started working as a jazz.
You're not the first person to tell me that story, and I don't. But the other person, it was not Syracuse. I don't remember where it was, but I asked at the time. I said, "What is it about college radio stations that they always have to play classical music or jazz? What is that?"
I don't know. So, I began to have sort of a love affair with jazz music, and was a DJ and ended up being a DJ like 3 days a week. And that's when I realized that I love being on the air. And that's when I changed my major from TRF management to broadcast journalism. And then I started working in their news department. And then I got a job as a reporter at a professional radio station downtown, WSYR and Y94 FM. I was Amy Allen on Y94 FM, working for the great Tom Langmeyer at the time. And he was actually my first.
Had a long talk with Tom not too long ago.
I know. We were both so young at the time.
It's on one of my podcasts, but but I'm guessing, so I don't know. I didn't even go to college, much less a broadcast school, but your choices was pretty much limited to journalism, right? I mean, there was no just radio in general.
It was TV, radio, film is what it was. I mean, we did radio. I took a radio writing class, and I remember taking a documentary class where we were supposed to write a radio documentary, but I ended up actually going a step further and producing and editing it and voicing it myself.
Really?
So I was the only one in the class who actually took it that step further. Yeah.
That says everything, do more than you are asked, and you will be successful at whatever your attempt, unless you're really, really lousy at it. But still, right. Even so.
Right. I'm sure if I listened to those tapes, I have cringed listening back to those tapes because I was still sort of packing my car in Harvard Yard with my Boston accent, which still comes out, by the way, when I'm tired.
Yes, I remember that. I started recognizing that eventually when we were working together. So while you were at Syracuse, you met a young man.
Yes,
Jack Fink.
Later became my husband. We were just friends.
Yeah.
When we were at Syracuse, he's a year older than me, and he also was a broadcast journalism major, and he got a first job in Utica, New York, in TV.
Mm-hmm.
And a year later, a job opened up at the radio station in Utica, New York. So I called him and I said, "Is it a good station to work at?" And he said, "Do you have anything else?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Then take it."
That makes it a great station.
That makes it a great station. Exactly. So I went, and we went out a couple of times and then started dating. And a year and a half later, we got married.
Wow.
Or engaged at least. And then 6 months later, we got married.
So that's incredible.
We've been married 30 years.
So you both went to the same college, same school,
Mm-hmm.
and your daughter went there too.
Yes. Yes, it was the last place on earth she wanted to go because we both went there until we said to her, "It checks all your boxes." And don't worry about us. No one will ever know us or remember us. Of course, that wasn't the case.
Some of the
But
instructors probably go,
yeah,
oh
actually,
yeah,
they did. Some of them were still there.
yeah.
So she went and she absolutely loved it as well.
We're
And she is,
talking about Jenna Fink, who is making quite a name for herself now, doing TV sports in what, Tucson?
yeah, she's in Tucson. She's in
And before that,
Tucson.
she was
Yeah,
in
both
Northern
of our
California.
daughters are in Tucson.
She is really, really good.
Thank
She,
you.
I know I told you this at the outset. The first time I saw you, you had recorded one of her on-camera reports or something from Chico, California.
That was her first full-time job. Yeah.
And I said, you know what, she's got it, and
Mm.
she's going to, and I make this public prediction again. She's going to be doing NFL sideline reporting and probably NFL play-by-play before too long. She's just that good,
Oh,
I think.
thank you. From your mouth to God's ears. The camera loves her, and she works so hard, and she's really good at what she does. And she obviously got the broadcasting gene, and simply loves it. And of course, we Cvel as parents. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing to have two parents who are in the broadcasting business, because we've coached her so much and given her so many pointers, but she seems to enjoy that and always asks us for help. And
Well,
so that's
sure.
really
That's
yeah.
absolutely, it makes perfect sense. Speaking of camera, you said the camera loves her. The camera loves you too. What, you never had any desire to be working in TV on camera?
I did. I applied. I was working in Utica, New York, and I was trying to get out, and I applied for a job in Bangor, Maine, for a TV job. And I had a tape, and it wasn't very good at all, but it's what I had from college at the time. And I got an interview with the news director. And the first thing he said to me is, "You don't have a face for radio," when I met him. And and I literally drove up through a blizzard to get there. And it turns out that he was leaving his news director position while he was hiring this new reporter, and he needed someone who had TV experience. Or he said, "I would have hired you." He said he needed someone who had already been in TV. And then I felt as if, Jack and I got married, and I felt it was easier for me to move around in radio and move up the food chain to bigger
Right.
markets while
Yeah.
he was still moving around, because there are so few women who are really, really good in news on the radio. Because most women are going into TV now.
Yeah. Well, that was certainly the case back then.
So I worked at
Excuse
some great radio stations, WFLA in Tampa. I worked like you did at KFWB
Yeah.
in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I was there before you were there. Worked for WDBO in Orlando, which is still a wonderful radio station. And then here in Dallas, I was lucky enough to work at BAP and KLIF.
Here's a little pro tip for you aspiring broadcasters out there, based on what Amy just said, and that is when the person you are applying to for a job tells you that he or she is hiring for this position, but he or she is then leaving, be careful. I had that happen once. I actually got a job. I had a program director who was absolutely in love with my work. This was in San Francisco. And shortly thereafter, he left, and his replacement didn't care for my gig, my thing at all.
Yeah.
So you gotta,
It's always hard when I think my husband has now worked for, I don't even know how many news directors for Channel 11 in Dallas. 7, 8, 9 he's on. I don't even know, in 20 years.
Jack Fink, he's primarily a political reporter, but he does other things too for KTTV. I can never remember the call letters.
KTVT.
Okay, TVT. Yeah,
Yeah.
Channel 11 is a CBS affiliate, and he's big. He's good. He can walk
great.
into the
He works
governor's
really
office
hard.
any old time and snuggle up and get the scoop. So let me talk just for a moment about your other daughter. We've got Jenna and Jillian, and we're talking about Jillian now, and she's a really interesting person in terms of what it is that she seems to be preparing to do. Tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah, she wants to become a teacher, and she's always had a love of kids and always been so good with them. I mean, she's just truly amazing with them. And so she's a junior now. She's also in Tucson at the University of Arizona and absolutely loves it. So she's studying
Well, the two sisters
elementary.
live in the same city.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
guess they get along okay.
They do. They do. It's nice. They're not on top of each other. They live about 20 minutes away, but they
Oh,
get
that's good.
together to have brunch and to do shopping and other activities. So it's really nice. And it makes it easy for us because it's just one destination to have to
Right.
go visit when we go. So we make it an extended stay. So it's nice. But no, she's doing student teaching right now. And she actually today, she got a little part-time job working in one of the districts in Tucson as a substitute teacher, and it's a paid position. And today's her first day
Really?
teaching kids by herself. She has sixth graders that she's doing today, and she needs to teach them, I think she said, social studies and literature.
Today is
So
January 26th, 2024. For those of you
so she
keeping
was
track.
yes, so she was really, really excited. It's a great opportunity for her, and
Yeah.
it's going to give her a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Well, so the whole family is just everything just swinging along for you. And here you are still in North Texas. And what are you doing now?
I'm
Because I
freelance.
kind of know, but I really don't have a good handle on it.
I'm doing sort of everything and everything that interests me. I'm doing a lot of writing um, for an online company called, I don't know, we used it a lot for our research, studyfinds.org.
Oh yeah.
So I'm doing writing for them, and I'm doing a lot of bio writing. You know how I love people's lives, and I'm very interested in that. So
You're a
I
naturally nosy person. It's a good field.
exactly, I like to ask questions. So I just finished up doing a whole bio rewrite for an East Texas law firm. And now I'm going to start another project for a writer who's selling a book, and I'm redoing his bio. And what else am I doing? I'm doing a lot of voiceover work for a business to business marketing company that has a video platform in Dallas. I'm doing live events I'm hosting. I'm doing video. I'm helping CEOs with their on-air delivery. So I'm doing a lot. I'm
Yeah.
busy. And
See what you called retiring from radio. I don't consider that retirement at all because you're working more than you were there.
probably, but it's when I want to work on
Yeah.
my time, my terms, and my schedule. And if I want to go away, we've done so much traveling over the past 3 months, and it's been nice. I just take my laptop with me,
Yeah.
and I either work or I don't work. And it's wonderful. I was able to spend time with my daughter down in San Antonio. She was down there to cover the Alamo Bowl because
Mhm.
Arizona was in the Alamo
Yeah.
Bowl. So I went down there and spent the week with her, and I was able to work remotely when she was doing her thing. And we were able to eat meals together, and it was great.
Let's talk about us together a little bit and how we met, what, 12, almost 12 years ago. Tyler
We met at a
Cox.
Cracker Barrel. Our first
Yes.
meeting was at a Cracker Barrel, and we had coffee, and I treated you to coffee. Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah. Cracker Barrel in Arlington because the
In
radio stations were in
Arlington.
Arlington at the time. And Tyler Cox, my old friend from Sacramento 30 some years ago, hired me to come out here and work with you. And I was in desperate need of a job. I'd been out of work in Los Angeles for about 9 months, and it was the second time for 9 months.
Mhm.
And we were to a point of, well, we had to file bankruptcy. And then Tyler called and says, "You interested in coming to Dallas?" And I said, "Heck yes." And I was interested in Texas anyway. I've always loved the idea
Right.
of working in Texas. But then, as I started the trip across country, I came first, and Carol Ann stayed in Los Angeles to.
We actually played Words with Friends while you drove across the country. Remember when Words with Friends was a
Yeah,
thing?
before we met.
Right.
And
Right.
I remember going to the website on the radio station's website and looking at you, and I go, "Oh my God, she's like 25. I'm going to have to
No,
train
that was an
enough."
old picture.
So
I was in my early 40s.
yeah, yeah. Well, you weathered well. So
Thanks.
so we met, and then we started working together. I guess we did like a practice week.
I remember that. But the format was so different when we first started. Don't you remember? It was
Oh, yeah.
basically all news. We were just reading the news for 4 hours.
Right. Essentially the same stories every 45 minutes or less.
And there was really no chance for us to comment.
Right. Well, it was
And
not.
then,
It was not something that was typically done in the market to
right,
talk
right.
about the
And then
news.
the show has sort of morphed over the years into, we're not just doing the news, we're talking the news.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I always think our show sometimes off the air was better than the one on the air.
True.
Well, just be
It actually,
talking
it
about
occurred to
our-
me more than once to say, well, maybe we should have them put a camera in here and go on live. And then I thought, no, there's just too much, too much downtime during the commercial breaks. You need a chance to be able to relax and regroup, and to make comments to each other about
Mhm.
about the morning show and what's going on and what's coming up and what we should be doing and what and what was that last segment wasn't very good. What happened there? I mean, we need to be able to talk a little bit behind the
Right,
scenes
right. And
while
we
we're
did,
there.
and we did. And it's really hard to find two people who get along so well, not both on the air and off the air.
Yeah.
And I still consider you one of my closest friends, and not only my on-air partner. I mean, I called you my, work husband. So,
Well, yeah,
and
my wife referred to you as my work wife because, frankly, you and I were spending more time together on a daily basis during the week than she and I were, because she's working until about 6 o'clock in the evening. I go to bed at 8. So
we
uh,
probably know more about each other than we really should, because we're working in a small room together for 4 hours every single day.
I don't know anything embarrassing about you.
Oh, I know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun.
But
And
there's a time and place for everything.
yeah,
And I just felt that it was, it was time for me to move to the next chapter of my life now that my kids are out of the house.
yeah,
And I wanted to be able to experience other things and to be able to stay up past 7 o'clock at night.
yeah.
And I've been able to do that. I go to book club now without having to leave early. I learned how to play mahjong, and I'm in a couple of mahjong groups.
You played pickleball. Of course, you were doing that before.
Pickleball.
Yeah.
Yep, I increased my pickleball. My friends have introduced me to happy hour. I'm able to go to lectures now at night. So it's been really nice. And
Your
sometimes
friend.
I have to remind myself that I can do these things,
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
because when you're conditioned for 20 years to say no to everything, it's hard to learn how to say yes.
I have friends who are forever asking, "Well, do you miss it? Do you miss being in radio?" And I tell you what, I didn't know what to expect. It's all I've done since I was straight out of high school. I was
Mhm.
17 when I got into radio, and it's all I've done since then. And I really didn't know what to expect from myself in that regard, but I know we had a lot of fun on the air on a daily basis, but I don't miss it because number one, done it all, said it all. And number two, that 4:30, that 2:30 wake up call
It's a killer.
was just getting to be a drag. People say, well, you get used to it. No,
Oh, you never ever get used to it, no matter how long you've been doing it. And invariably the alarm would go off and I would let out a couple of expletives.
right.
And then, hop in the shower and go on my merry little way. But I kind of, not being up that early, I've realized that I was a zombie for 20 years. I really was. It
Yeah.
was like a walking zombie.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
don't realize what kind of an effect it has on your body. It really takes a toll on your body.
It really does, and on your mind too. And this is something that I learned when I was still in Los Angeles and working every morning. And I finally I had a physical, and I started talking to the doctor, and I said, I've been really depressed lately. I said, I've got a little bit of a history of clinical depression, but that's in my past. That was
Right.
cured with chemistry. But since then, I've really had these ups and downs and everything. He said, tell me about your sleep. I said, well, I usually take a nap. You know, I get up at 2:30 in the morning, go to work, I come home, I take a nap, go to bed about 9 or 10. He says, hold on. He says, you can't take 2 hours or 1 hour during the day and add it to the 4 or 5 hours you're getting at night and consider that to be 6 hours. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You need your nighttime sleep to be continuous. And without that, you have sleep. He says, you are sleep deprived. And
And I know you raised a son while doing this. I raised 2 daughters
yeah,
while doing this with all of their activities. And I mean, if you ask them, they'll probably always say that my favorite line is, "Oh, I felt like I've been hit by a truck," because I would say that constantly.
I remember one morning you came in and I said, to you, I've been there a few minutes. I was already working. I was looking ahead at what we had to talk about. And you came in and you said, oh, is it Monday yet? Or is it Friday yet? That right? That's what that was your line. Is it Friday yet? Blah, 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 blah. And I've been watching this, you know, from time to time for years. And I finally said, you know what? You come in here. I am working. I've got my head, I'm focused. And you come in here with that dreary, and you said, am I bringing down the room? And I said, yes, that's exactly what you're doing.
But you know what I found that was so wonderful about our relationship, both on and off the air, is when you needed propping up, I was there to do it. And when I needed propping up, you were there to do it. And I feel like we both weren't dreary on the same day, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
We were there to support each other.
Yeah.
And that's what was so great about our relationship.
Do you have any thoughts that maybe you might get back behind a microphone, you know, professionally at some point?
I'm still doing voiceover work.
What kind of voiceover work? You doing
For
institutional type narration and stuff?
for business to business videos.
Not
I'd like to
commercials.
no, not commercials. I'd like to get into maybe books on tape,
Yeah.
and
I looked into
I've
that
done
actually,
some
you know.
live event hosting. Sorry, some live event hosting and some video, like on camera work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I looked into the audiobooks thing. I may still go after it, but I found out, number one, it's really hard work and it doesn't pay well,
Yeah, it is a lot of work.
at least at the outset, because you have to do your own editing and everything. You've got to make sure that the production, it sounds pretty good. I mean, you send it on to a publisher and they tweak it, but you got to have a pretty well finished product when you send it to them. And they pay something like, I don't know, it was like $40 or $60 an hour. That means, it doesn't mean for every hour that you put in
No, that's
doing it.
every completed hour.
Yes, produced hour.
Right.
That's a lot.
Right.
That can take 5
Yeah.
hours to do that. So
Yeah, it can. But you have a column. That's exciting. You're a published writer now.
yeah, it is fun. I'm on Barrett News Media every Friday morning. So
Your pieces have been excellent.
well, thank you. It's a little bit nerve-wracking because it's an opinion column about radio and radio news, particularly news and talk.
So you've told everyone that I was your favorite, right, to work with?
I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Oh.
I'm trying to keep myself and my career out of it to whatever
I'm
extent.
just kidding.
I know
I'm
you are.
kidding.
Except when something that I did or said or something that happened on the air or at a station where I worked is key to the subject at hand in any particular day, you know. But yeah. So I'm enjoying that. But anyway, I don't know. You know, beyond that, I sit at home with the dogs and I fix dinner. I do some laundry. I got to go put some in right now. So I'm happy.
I don't do that. My husband does that. I don't do the laundry. He does the laundry.
All right. Listen.
I'm busy though. I mean, today I'm not, well, today I have to do some work, but then I'm going to an event tonight. and I'm going to play mahjong on Monday afternoon. So I feel like I'm scheduled.
Yeah. The scheduling drives me crazy, and I'm actually busier than I was before because I'm busy arranging these podcasts, for example, and then there's a little bit of production that goes on afterwards. I'm
Right.
thinking I may tack onto this one piece of audio from you and me together. I've got some air checks of us doing some goofy bits and whatnot.
We should do our own podcast, like Dave and Amy after radio.
Well, here's the first one. I don't know what else we'd do next time, but however, I do remember.
We can talk the news. I found a story actually this morning, and I thought this would have been our favorite story of the day. The American Airlines jet that had to return because there was a guy who was farting too much. Did you see that? Yes.
No.
And I thought that would have been our favorite story of the day.
Absolutely. He was filling the cabin, I guess.
He was filling the cabin.
Well, I saw one
yesterday. Jet fuel in there.
I saw something yesterday that we would have talked about. There was an art exhibit, one of these modern performance art things going on at the museum.
Oh, like the apple or the banana.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But this had performance art involves people doing something.
Right.
This was at the New York Museum of Modern Art or something. It's now one of the biggest places in the world.
Yeah, I was just sitting outside of there a couple of weeks ago.
Really? Yeah. Well, it's just full of weird stuff, I guess. And so this exhibit, somehow they bought into this idea that this would be art. They have a man and a woman, and they run like 45-minute shifts. Both of them absolutely bare naked, standing in the center of the room, facing each other. And then the audience gets in a line and takes turn walking between them.
Okay, I just don't want that. I don't want to do that.
Well,
I'm sorry.
So the man is now suing the museum because he's been grabbed a couple of times.
Oh. Well, didn't he know that was going to happen? I mean, when you sign up to do something like that,
I don't know.
And you're in New York City, you have to think that something like that is going to happen.
See, that's one of those things that we used to talk about where we'd say, why do people feel compelled to spray paint signs on bridges and overpasses and stuff? Well, you can't put your brain into, you can't wrap your brain around a brain that does that kind of thing.
You can't wrap your brain around stupid. That's what I say.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
I like your little, is that a little, what's that thing with the headphones on? The little monkey.
Oh, it's a little monkey. Yes, my little icon. I bought that from Fiverr.
I like that.
I got that from
oh yeah, kind of like our favorite story of the day jingle.
Yeah.
That you bought from Fiverr for 25 bucks or something.
Yeah. I'll have to play that. I got to look for an air check with us doing a favorite story, and then I'll put that on the end of this. Always good talking to you. We'll get together again and have breakfast again, and maybe we'll do this again too.
We should do a podcast. It'd be fun. For real.
It would be. We'd have to figure out. I do like the idea of talking the news. It wouldn't have to be more than 10 or 15 minutes a day, something like that. Sometimes it would be longer, It'd
just be whatever it is,
Well, we can talk
Don't
about
you miss my laugh? Yeah, you want my laugh. That's
yeah. All right. Gotta go.
Great talking to you, my friend. Say hi to Carol.
You tell Jack I said hello, and we're trying to scare him up some viewers here.
All right. Take it easy.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
News and information, 570 AM, 96.3 FM, HD2, KLIF.
Well, we like to think that if you listen to us every morning, you're going to learn something. So here we go. The story says smaller testicle size in men appears to be linked to greater involvement in child rearing, according to Georgia researchers. Mm-hmm. This study, published recently in the journal PNAS, was conducted by anthropologists at Emory University in Atlanta, involving 70 fathers ages 21 to 43. The study participants who were recruited with flyers and Facebook ads. I don't know.
Did they pay them for this?
Oh boy, I'm telling you.
To drop drop them.
Yes. Yeah. Call the nurse in here with the
With the ruler
and the little food scale.
Would you? Oh my goodness! Would you volunteer for a study like this?
I think probably not.
Okay.
All these participants had children who were 1 or 2 years old.
Okay.
And the researchers measured the men's testosterone levels and the testes volume and performed brain scans while the men were shown pictures of their own children's faces and faces of other children, and the moms were also surveyed.
Okay.
Asked
to find
questions.
out what kind of dad they were.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly. And what they came up with, anthropology researcher Jennifer Mascaro said, father's testicular volume. They're talking about size here.
Yes.
Okay. Not volume in terms of
Weight.
like you would say the
Wait.
volume of a bucket or
Right.
something. It's not like that.
No.
There's size.
Size.
And by the way, they did that.
And how did they determine the size?
They did. I'm just. They used MRI.
So no rulers.
No rulers.
Okay.
Father's testicular volume and testosterone levels were inversely related to parental investment. And testes volume, I think she went out of her way to make this sound as clinical and boring as possible. And testes volume was inversely correlated with nurturing-related brain activity when viewing pictures of their own children. Now, the point of all of this...
Does that mean if you have less testosterone, then you're apt to be a better dad?
That's kind of what they're saying, yes. Yeah.
And if you have more testosterone, you're more manly and...
I guess... Yeah.
Don't want to deal with changing the diapers?
Gorilla, that's women's work. Researchers say the study was intended to determine whether biological factors might account for absentee fathers. Men who stray and go away and don't hang around to
It's
raise
because
their
they have
kids
big
and stuff.
testicles.
Yeah, it seems like a big leap, doesn't it? to get to that conclusion.
It seems like there are a whole bunch of other factors that may be involved in this
you think
too.
maybe? Yeah.
That maybe this was just sort of coincidental.
Yeah,
Because 20 people or how many people took part?
70.
70?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that's an awful lot.
Yeah. Well, the authors wrote, collectively, the data provided the most direct support to date that the biology of human males reflects a trade-off between mating and parenting effort.
And you had another word for testicles.
I was going to say, I didn't even get to use my
to that, and I want to know that. I want to know what it is.
Blind Bob. I've never heard that one before. Old Blind Bob.
Blind Bob.
And One-Eyed Milkman is another one, but I don't even want to get it. But Old Blind... Oh, that's...
I think I've heard the One-Eyed Milkman.
I think we're done with this segment.
I think we are.
KLIF News Time now, 6:51. Let's get some money news.